Hi, my name is David. I'm with Construction Software, and today on CatChats, happy to have Bryan Symes, Managing Director of CAPRI Constructions, with us. How you doing, Brian?
I'm great, thanks.
Can you tell us a little about your company and the type of work that you do?
Yeah, so we're a small to medium-sized construction company, mainly operating in the commercial residential market. So main client or main product we produce is a terrace townhouse. We'll build a 3-story walk-up or a single standalone house sort of thing, but on a commercial scale. Not we don't sort of delve into the apartment market. But at the same time, we do the occasional warehouse every now and again. We've got the experience that we've done all this stuff in the past. And so, yeah, previous clients come back to us, and we've, in the last couple of years, we've built 3 or 4 warehouses. But yeah, mainly terrace townhouses is our game. It's what we're good at. So,
Yeah. Can you tell us a little about the company and kind of how it's evolved to where it is now?
Yeah, I was with a company called Bryan Construction 20 years ago. So the 13th of December this year, we've been in business 20 years. So I was with them. I'd been with them for about 10 years, left them and to go out on my own. Really just started off small. We're a little company where there was just myself and another guy, and we just ranged in that $5 million turnover mark. Took that to 10, and then went, okay, we probably need to get a bit serious. We got too many holes in the ups and downs in the market, So really, sort of found that sweet spot there, and it really wasn't anything to do with turnover. It was more to do with what kept a certain staff level busy. So the whole company, we pitch everything at what keeps our staff level busy, and at that staff level we can maintain a really sweet overhead. Overhead versus turnover versus overhead, we're running at about 2%, which is pretty low. According to BDO, they sort of run us at the top tier, that we're like the benchmark for everybody to get to, and we have been for probably 10 years. So in doing that, that just sort of maximizes profits. So it allows us to do our thing, and we sort of fly under the radar, do our business, and it's taken many years. It probably took, I don't know, we're probably in about year 10, year 12 before we had some really niche clients that they operate outside of the tender market, and so therefore everything we do with them is negotiated, and if it's not negotiated, it's sort of semi-negotiated anyway, and allows us to just fill the book up each year and go and do our thing. And our staff numbers will fluctuate 1 or 2 max. Most of our staff have been with us for over 10 years anyway, so we don't, somebody may leave and somebody may come.
Yeah.
That's the biggest hurdle for the year, really. So, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you found your niche and you're in a good spot there. We were talking off camera before. You on to some massive jobs. It's great to see that you have that much work going for you and that you've been able to kind of plan all this out and just remain stable and everything. Do you have any jobs of yours that kind of stand out as being favorites, or ones that maybe the learning curve really kind of brought you to the next level?
Yeah, we prior to doing Thomas Road in about 2000, and I think it was about 2007, 2008. Prior to doing that job there, I'd personally never built a house. I'd
Oh, wow.
done some renovations at my own home, and never actually physically built a house. I'd built 26-story, multi-story apartment blocks and commercial office blocks and things like that. Milk powder towers and grain stores and all sorts of stuff, but never actually physically built a house. So in 2008, we embarked on this job. It was it all came out of the actual 2007 crash. A company called Equinox ended up with a whole lot of stock that young developers had fallen over, and they had to build their way out of it to get out of it. And we were a client of theirs, or we were a builder of them. They were a client of ours. And they said, "Hey, would you look at building these houses?" And I said, "I don't really build houses, but we'll have a crack at it." And that was really where it started. So that job there, if I look back on that's where we sort of got into the residential market. And from there, we got into some first lot of terrace townhouses came along. And if you go back into 2009 in New Zealand, there was very few terrace townhouses getting built in Auckland CBD, or Auckland Central anyway. And Flatbush was the place. So this job was in Flatbush, and we just sort of become one of the Flatbush builders. And at the time, we were on a side of the hill looking over Flatbush, and it was just all paddocks. And if you go to that same spot now, the whole of that farmland, which is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of square meters, is all now covered in terrace townhouses, of which we built probably about 800 of them. So so from that job, it sort of enabled us to grow into from single houses into terrace townhouses into some larger complexes, and now we sort of just understand it. We know what it takes to build a terrace townhouse. Everybody thinks they can build one because they may have built a house or they may have built an apartment, but a terrace townhouse is quite different. To get to a 3-story high terrace townhouse, to go to the toilet on the top floor, just to check the toilet roll holders put in. And if you've got 16 units, you've got to go up 2 flights of stairs each time to get to the toilet on the top floor. Times 16 units, that's 32 flights of stairs you're going to go up and down, okay, just to go and check off the units that somebody's been through and put the toilet roll holders in, for example. And it's quite labour intensive, and everybody, they talk to you about it and they go, "What's the most important thing?" And I go, having the correct staff numbers on these jobs is important, and having that understanding. And so what we've done is, rather than trying to grow our staff numbers big, we've kept our subcontractor base really tight. And so we will use the same subcontractors consistently, job after job after job. And not only is it, we might have 2 electricians or 2 plumbers and a few different builders and labour-only building guys, but we pair them up together and group them up together, and so therefore they become just an extension. And you'll see as our motto for the company, it's called One Team, and it's all about dragging everybody together. We only have an account at one place, which is Carter's. We don't have an account at Bunnings or Placemakers or anywhere else, just Carter's. So they've got a complete understanding of what we want. We know what they're going to deliver us. The carpenters know what Carters will deliver them as well. So they don't know what they're going to get with some other builder, but with us, they know exactly what they're going to get given. So we've dragged our little staff of, say, 8 on site, or call it 12 of us, because it makes it sound like we're really big. But our 12, I can easily say that that's more like 200. And it's 200 because we've got 70 odd carpenters that we use regularly. We've got a plumbing company and an electrical company, and they're our go-to guys. Our kitchen joiner, for example, does every job we do. Our roofer does every job. Our window guy does every job. So they turn up to a job. The supervision level of looking after that guy is very low compared with if we tended it to the nth degree to drag the last little dollar out of it. We would be in a situation where we don't know what that guy's expecting, and he doesn't know what we're going to deliver. So therefore, the supervision level goes up much higher. And what we find is when we do have to tender a job, and we do go to the market and we bring in somebody new, we find that it slows the job down, and it actually requires us to spend a lot more time, or it really just slows the program down, because we don't want to put any more. We don't want to just employ somebody just to look after that one person, but it just slows the job down, because that person, they don't trust in us that what we say we're going to deliver, we're going to deliver. Yeah, and so therefore we'll go, oh, make the windows straight off the window schedule, and they'll go, oh, we're not doing that. You'll stuff up all the frame openings, but we don't stuff up the frame openings, because we check them and we double check them and we triple check them with the carpenters and ourselves and the shop drawings. And before they even leave Carter's factory, we make sure the windows are going to be right. And if they're wrong, we fix them. And therefore the windows can be pre-manufactured rather than site measuring, for example. That's an example of it. But dragging all these people in has created this one team thing that we talk about. And rather than having a company of 8 people, we have a company now of 208 people, for example, because I can talk to most of the subbies. Some of the subbies I'd know more about their family and their wife and kids, and where they're going on holiday and that, than I do sometimes my own staff, because I might see them on a more regular basis, although I do see most of the staff most days of the week.
Well, it sounds like you got a really good crew underneath you, so that's fantastic. Just to kind of change gears here, I see that you've been with CATProjects since 2015. What made you select CATProjects for managing your projects?
The biggest thing was we're very efficient at using Excel, and being sort of quantity surveyor, project manager, Excel is probably your number one tool, and we had a great system that was sort of backed off the back of an eBert type system that we had, that myself and Blair and Aaron had all been at eBerts, and Wayne now. But what we didn't have was a database. And so every time it was this massive entry to set the job up. And to get rid of that gave us so much more time at the front end of the job just to get into the job and start doing the managing the job, rather than trying to set the job up. And that was probably the biggest thing, was from that point of view, the interface with Xero, it just sort of all worked. Whereas we were sort of manually, it was all this manual entry, and we probably don't enter anything more like entering an invoice into our old Excel system that I'd actually written myself. Wasn't any harder than entering an invoice into CAD. In real terms, it wasn't that much. It's not that much harder. But what it was you couldn't get. You couldn't just go, oh, where's Airside Projects, the mechanical guy, or, Express Aluminium Windows, or whoever it is, you can't just drag them up and get their information. And so, and it just centralized everything, made us look so much more professional as well when you're sending out an invoice and a progress claim and everything. We had exactly the same as what we're sending out now, but it was pretty, antiquated Excel stuff versus Paula made it look pretty for us.
Hey, just in terms of say like training your staff with it, I mean, not that you have a high staff turnover or anything like that, but is say for a quantity surveyor, how long would it take them to like learn the software?
Learn the CAT software?
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, we can train somebody in a day, just about, in our opinion. If they're brand new and they've never worked on any software in their life, like a cadet, they're going to take a few weeks to get the hang of it. But even a building cadet, within a few days, they're writing out orders, they're sending ATSs to subcontractors. We probably run CAT quite differently to most. Every single person in the company has exactly the same access to CAT. So we don't have it all layered out that you can't access this and you can't see that. I want everybody to see if the bottom line drops, they all see the bottom line drops.
That's good. Transparency is good.
Yeah. So the building cadet, he can see how much money we're making on the job. exactly the same as the quantity surveyor or the project manager or or the estimator. We can all see exactly the same thing. And obviously me as the CAT administrator, I have a little bit more control over what I can delete and not delete, Going back to your first question, from a training point of view, we're finding that there's a lot more people in the market now that are actually saying that they've worked with CAT. But then the other one is, if you're employing somebody new, if they haven't, it's pretty basic to pick up. And Paula will hate this, but it's like using a Mac.
She will hate that.
Because a Mac's basic, that everybody can use an iPhone, Not everybody can use an Android, and not everybody can use a PC, but anybody that has a PC can use a Mac. And because
I heard that just around the traps that the software is, if you're in the industry, the software is very kind of logical and quite intuitive.
And it is, and it was, the background of Paul and David was, the from a project management background, and you go, well, you don't want stuff that's you don't need any bullshit in the industry. We've got enough shit to deal with. It's hard enough to do things on a daily basis.
Hey, just in terms of some of the features of CATProjects, is there one specific feature that kind of saves you a lot of time?
Just the simplicity of it, I suppose. It just flows from creating the variation, which then arrives into your progress claim, which then you do your progress claim. You're really just claiming a percentage against something, and then once it's approved, you just tick in approved, and then you straight away can send an invoice. It just that from a monetary point of view, that flows. From a project management point of view, how you can link together an ATS, for example, which is an advice to a subcontractor, to a CTC, which is to the client, and link them all together and cross-reference everything, just makes it simplistic. Dropping documents. It's like the invoices. We just drop all the invoices in there. So therefore, if you want to query something, you just click on it and it's there right in front of you. It's all, to me, it's just simplistic. It's easy to use.
Oh, that's great. So, I doubt that you.
It still requires the input, because we weren't doing that. We weren't dropping the invoices in there when we first started using it.
Okay.
And then we went. And then you'd have to go to an eSlite folder, these things, the old days. Go to your eSlite folder and drag out the invoices and go, what was that? And somebody will be querying it on site, and you have to drag it out. Whereas now that we're scanning every single one of them in there, it's very simple.
Oh, it's good to have everything consolidated and on hand at all times.
Yeah, and it's like on the 29th of this month, I'm flying to Italy, and I'm away, not back till November, and I'll take my computer with me, and I can jump online anywhere in the world, and I can see all the invoices that have arrived that day, and I can see, not just see the numbers, I can actually physically see the invoices. The guys can scan in the progress claims from the subs, and it doesn't matter, been online and in the cloud.
Nice to be playing with CAT software when you're on the Italian Riviera, just on your
exactly.
lounge.
Now,
the important part. Are you on CAT Rugby?
I'm not, because I'm actually going. Well, I leave next week or the week after next, and we're going over to the rugby. So,
legend. Oh, how good is that?
So we're there for the semi-finals and final. We're there for, on the 20th of October, we're going to the first semi. We got the two semis and the two finals, so we'll be there to watch it. So
you're obviously going New Zealand, but do you have any picks for who you think might take it?
Who knows? Not a great rugby supporter, but I'm obviously supporting the All Blacks, but Go Liam Lawson this weekend, though, at the Formula One in Singapore. That's more important.
I kind of agree. I don't follow the rugby that much either. Hey, we briefly spoke about this before we were on camera, but like I was saying, in Australia, we've had massive challenges in the commercial and some of the residential sectors. Have you gone through anything like that yourself over New Zealand? And if so, have you come out with any positives from it? Something that might change the way you do business, or just maybe even see how um, business is done?
Yeah, I suppose I think the residential builders of New Zealand at the moment have, the group housing companies are probably yet to get their big kick in the pants. It's probably still, they're probably getting it right at the moment, and the actual effects of it before their money dries up is probably another 2 to 3 months away. And it's going to take the change of government, and then it's going to take at least probably 6 months of them being in government to actually make a change to some of the stuff that's happening, and that in itself will make huge inroads into people going into receiverships and things like that. That's the unfortunate result of not having work. From the commercial sense, what we're finding is that those that have good relationships have been able to maintain a reasonably steady workflow, and those that don't are scurrying around taking on anything they can get. And we've found that a lot of people are diving down into our market, and what call it, our market, yeah, our market. But yeah, they're diving down into, say, trying to jump into the residential, commercial residential, which is effectively, in a lot of cases, the big boys that did the big apartment blocks, they've come down and started doing some 3-story high walk-up type stuff, and they're probably hurting from it, because unless you've built it before, you don't really know what the allowances should be, and likewise, some of those other guys have dropped down and started doing some terraces, and at the end of the day, probably the biggest learning curve out of this is don't go and try and buy any work. Like we've just stuck to our knitting, and we've found that we're going to make our way through. And hey, 2023 or the 2024 financial year might be a little bit down, but it's better than taking on work and just taking a bath on it, which we effectively did back in, I don't know, 2012. We were like, everybody was sort of climbing out of that 2007 recession and just going to grab anything, and I'll do it for nothing. And then the market picked up, and it picked up pretty quickly. By 2013, the market was sort of rambling along, and you were caught holding the baby with this job that was all on low rates. And so right at the moment, everybody, let's just be a little bit careful not to be taking on work or tendering work with no margins and things, or no contingencies, so that they can, because Carters and the likes will put their rates up as fast as they drop them down. So they've dropped them all down at the moment, and they go out there going, do not lose a job, where, whatever you need us to do it for, we'll do it for it. And they'll reprice it. You can send it back to them 3 times. They'll give you 3 new prices. Each time it's a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. But if the industry's smarter, they can and hold their own. But unfortunately, people have got to survive as well. So they get to the point where they go, I'm just going to take whatever I can get, So, but from our point of view, we've stuck to our knitting and gone, actually, we're just going to, ease into a little bit of a overstaffing the jobs a little bit, and we'll just make a little bit less margin than we would normally do. It wouldn't matter if we didn't make any margin, as long as we don't lose any money, But if we go and take on a job with really low rates just to get it, and then all of a sudden we could be easily in the position where if everybody whacks the rates back up again, and you're caught holding the baby, because no one at the moment, no client would sign up to cost fluctuations and things like that. they're just
Yeah.
not interested because they see it. All that they see is there's not a lot of work out there, so therefore it should be coming down for you. So no one's going to sign you up to go. Oh, it could be going back up, but it does flick around. It turns around as quick as it drops. So.
Well, it sounds like you found a very good niche and you're in a good place, which is great. We like to see our clients doing well. And listen, I think I've taken up quite a bit of your time. You must be starving by now.
Yeah, I am.
Thank you very much for your patience and your time. It was really great to
Yeah,
meet
thanks,
you,
David.
and love to catch up with you later.
Sounds
Great.
good. Yes. Go the
Cheers,
All
mate.
Bees.
All right. Thanks, mate.
Bye.